up, WWE Champions Universe? Welcome to Champions Chat, the fastest growing podcast dedicated to the WWE Champions mobile game. I'm Tranquilo, Rusty Graves, and with me as always, the final boss, Lee Brown. What's up, Lee?
What's up, Rusty? So there's nothing going on in the game at all. So what do you want to
Slow
talk
week,
about? Should we just
slow
chill?
week, nothing happening in Champions. I guess we'll go straight to
Wow.
WWE TV, you know?
Yeah, sounds good. No, we got a lot to talk about, but I do want to, do a follow-up moment
Oh,
from last week's episode, if that's okay.
sure.
So, yeah, last week, I said a few things on the podcast that didn't land super well with some of the community, and I get
Oh,
that, but actually, go ahead.
I was just saying, oh, you know, you found out how it feels to be me for a day.
That's awesome. Well, so I so appreciate the people we have in our lives, in our circles. But Iron Sheik, our buddy from the podcast, reached out and
Oh
was just
yeah.
like, dude, I want you to know I disagree with some of the things you said, but I want to handle it in the right way. And so let's just talk. And so we had a little talk, and it was like, okay, so we've talked a lot before on the podcast about intent versus impact. And
Yeah.
while my intent was not to come across as, oh, Scopely's all right and the player base is all wrong. Some very clearly felt that that's the way it landed. And,
Oh,
so for that, I apologize because I feel like you and I really try to be for the community.
oh,
And
for
while
sure.
I do hold that certain conversations need to happen in private circles to help move certain other things forward. At the same time, like if people saw some of the conversations we had in those back ends where it's like we are fighting for the player base, and then to come off like I am not for the player base, I mean that didn't feel good,
Yeah.
but it
And
did, and it happened, and I was in the wrong.
I,
So
well, I appreciate you sharing that. And I can say this, I've known you long enough to know you're not a controversial figure. You're not looking for sensational takes. And so I think
right.
you're the calm, rational voiced of the podcast. And I think you'll continue to be. Um, but it's amazing how many words we say on this show and in our content and in our lives and in our professions. And
Yeah.
so to think that we would get 100% of those correct all of the time would be impossible. I misspeak. I say
Yeah.
things. We all do, right?
Yeah.
So I certainly know your intent is to always be pro player, pro game, never pro, like you're not the corporate rock, right? You're not the
The
one who's
champion.
so
Right. My chin
anyway,
is bleeding.
oh, okay. We got a little TVMA for you today.
That's right.
He's bladed just before the show.
I'm
Well,
bleeding.
we don't have to keep going on that, but I would like to
Right.
preface today's episode by saying this. Most of what we said last week on the show is no longer relevant, is no longer
Right.
is no longer valid. We have been um we became outdated in one
Yeah.
week's time
Yeah, that
because
episode didn't age well.
right, we're like, is the MLC getting harder?
Right.
Well, under the old structure,
Right.
it was harder than previous months. At this point, we know nothing. Well, no, I won't
It's
say that.
completely different.
There's no comparison to
Yeah.
what we have experienced prior to
Yep.
what happened this week, Lee. Tell us about for those who may be sleeping or have not turned or opened the game in a week, what has changed? What is new?
Who didn't join all of the content creators on the 2 hour long blog read that was legitimately just the blog read and nothing else.
If
um,
Professor's blog read would have been a VHS, it would have been two cassettes, like the old Titanic film or like Braveheart.
right.
It would have said insert tape two at this time, you know?
Right. Well, so a little backstory on that. You talk about the communication, who knows what, that kind of stuff. I mentioned last week on this episode that the community manager had hinted at to some of the content creators, hey, whatever you guys are thinking about this month, don't even worry about it, because next month, like, it's a totally different world. He didn't quite say it that way, but that was kind of what was implied. And then all of a sudden we see this blog. And so you and I actually got to preview the blog like 2.5, 3 days early, which doesn't ever happen.
A work in progress, and pieces
Yeah, it
of
was
and
right.
updates happen. Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah. And the ways that, like, talk about us trying to be for the community player base, I would say on the one hand, the miscommunication that everyone felt from the community manager, from Scopely, from all that last week, at least in part, was probably due to the fact that they were working so hard to, instead of piecemealing out information a little week, every week at a time, where you still don't have everything, that blog was like, here is everything. And like,
Hey,
there's still stuff missing, but everything at once.
speaking of things you said that were completely wrong,
Oh,
last episode I said, Lee, couldn't they just give us a roadmap for the whole month and tell
that's
us
right.
exactly
No.
what would happen and maybe where to find shards and what contest it would hold? And you're like,
Oh,
oh no, that would be game breaking. And then boom,
boom.
when
There
this
it
blog
is.
went live, it was like,
Woo.
it's the roadmap. It's like the
Yeah.
whole month. It's every superstar. It's every I think contest that's going to be
Yeah.
coming, dates, every CSS that's going to be required in the
Kind of.
in the
Right.
kickoff
In the kickoff and
blitzes.
the
And
feud.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was just like information. It was just like a
Right.
lot. And
A
clearly
lot.
it was it quelled any sense of, oh, things are changing, I won't know what to do. Right? To
Right.
me, eliminated the fear or the panic of 6-star gold is live, new
Right.
structure to the MLC.
Ah.
That was my first thought, right?
Right.
And then to go, oh, here's the roadmap. Here
Right.
it is. Here
Yeah.
it is. And I who knows if we'll get those every month moving forward.
Yeah.
But at
But
this
this was good.
juncture, it was really helpful and a breath of fresh air. Was it not?
Yeah, it was a lot, but it was really good. And I just want to say, on the side of like the content creators going back for for the community, most of us had access to it a couple days early, which again doesn't happen. At most, we normally get access like an hour before, if at all. And because of that, each of us, and I only saw you and I's chat with the community manager, but each of us went through and we're like, hey, we don't understand this. Hey, you should speak more on this. And like, specifically, one of the things I was very proud of is multiple times in there, I brought up like, hey, what about Hall of Fame and IOW? And so then that was like, oh, you can take them up too. And I was like, no, no, no. People are going to want to know exactly how you take up Hall of Fame and IOW.
Right.
And
Is
that
there a
got put
new
into the blog.
currency? Is there a new token? Yeah,
Right.
that's always the first question when a meta starts is how do I enter it the quickest way possible? Uh,
Right.
for those of you, and we know, here's a few facts we know about our show, Lee.
Yeah.
First of all, 50% of our listeners and viewers are not in the United States. 50%
Wow.
of our audience are international and not United States. The next thing we know about our people that enjoy our content is many of them are low spend or no spend or what we would call free to play players. For them to hear 6-star gold is here, um,
Right.
many of them are thinking, I only have one or a few 6-star silver. Like
If any.
right. Or I'm still trying to catch up to the last meta. And now you're
Right.
telling me. So all that to say, we want to be helpful. We want to be relevant to
Yeah.
audience as they are. we know other content creators maybe cater to a different demographic in the game. Some of our CCs were showing us which countries they were the most popular in. And Sorzoro, for example, incredible. He's like huge in India, which is like
Surprise. That's
we need to get we
um,
need to do more to greet and welcome and attract our wonderful neighbors and friends from India. You know,
there you go.
I'm not sure what that is, but
Just let's not pander. Let's
right.
stay
I know.
authentic and love them the
I'm
way,
just gonna have to. I'm gonna have to learn more
yeah.
about so many other cultures that are
There you
represented
go.
in this game.
I know. I was just thinking like we might have to not do the fake accents anymore.
Well, French. It's only French Canadian, and
I know. I
I
know.
stand firm on my
And
stand.
Canadians are too nice to get angry, so it's a safe
I
it's a
am
safe demographic.
firmly rooted in my beliefs about French Canada. So,
Oh my goodness. Well, let's talk about some of the things for free to
yeah,
play because I think the roadmap being laid out, things completely different. Here's some of the things that we as content creators have suggested to Scopely for a while, which is, well, at least since Grayson Waller, which is how nice was it to get not only the free superstar, but one more character in the month that is like grindable, that you can get there to them by
right.
doing this. And Grayson Waller was our example. It was like that felt really good. So now the structure, for those who are not noticing yet or curious or whatever, they did say you can get 2 superstars for free. Now, nobody knows the word free until we see it. Does that mean no spend whatsoever? I mean, that's what free means. But
Yeah,
it appears from the blog there are enough shards that if you play the month, you will get the final boss rock, subject to change. But it
and
does appear that
well,
way.
and I'll
He's an
say
eight.
this: if you can play the month,
Yes.
I'm assuming that um some of those shards might be hidden behind a CSS. Um, but that's only my assumption because of the way
Right.
other months have gone. So truly,
Yeah.
don't get angry at
Yeah.
us or at the game, I guess, if because every contest has contest superstars, right?
Right.
Unless you have everything on your roster, if you're free to play or low spend, the
Right.
likelihood of you not having something that you need.
Right.
That's almost like a disclaimer, and I don't think that's going
Right.
to be subject to change. It's going to be a subject to discovery because we
Oh,
don't
I like that.
quite know how those final boss rock shards are going to reveal themselves.
Right.
It's not in the roadmap necessarily, right? It
Well,
doesn't say,
shards are, but it
well,
says how
no,
many
where,
are free and how many are
right.
premium.
And yeah, that's like, but where you will find them in the contest, in the node, and if there is a
Right.
contest superstar, we just don't know. We don't know.
Right.
Subject to wait,
Subject to
subject
discovery.
to
I like that.
discovery.
Yeah, but it
Um,
does seem like you're going to get the rock by playing, not through coins or ingots, because those have changed around now too. And originally, when the blog was revealed, it sounded like the ingot coin, whatever system that we had to recruit the chase character before was just completely gone. However, there is still a prize wall. And in this
yeah,
case, Grayson Waller is available at 6-star bronze on that for the MLC for playing that. And this is something nobody's talked about enough, I don't feel like, you get enough of those coins or ingots that you could then change those over for 6-star coins. One 6-star coin guarantees you a 6-star character with a chance up to 6-star gold. 2 of the coins guarantees you a 6-star gold A tier character. 3 of
right.
the coins guarantees you a 6-star gold S tier character. And of the roughly 20 that are available in there, I personally am missing 11 of them. So
And
there
it,
is a huge chance I will get a brand new superstar out of this at 6-star gold. That means most people will be able to jump into the 6-star gold meta by the end of the month with at least one
Right.
character, and they've said there's going to be 6 coins, so you should be able to possibly get 2. Hi balloons.
Are you, but
2
are you
of them.
thinking it's going to be Showstopper Sean or Zombie
Probably.
Page? You know, like,
Probably.
because
Well,
like,
is that who's in there? Let me you talk. Let me pull it up real quick and
well, I was
see.
gonna say because I got into that zombie 6-star loot thinking,
Oh,
oh baby, this is it. This is my big
oh,
break,
baby,
right?
baby.
And I got zombie Oscar, zombie
Right,
Age,
right,
zombie Hogan. And the zombie Hogan was new, right? But it's like,
right.
okay, um,
No, look
who
at
are you
this.
seeing? Let me know. Let me know what you're
Okay,
seeing.
so let me go through the featured. So okay, theoretically, according to the blog, you can get 6 coins this month. If you get half of that, you still get 1 featured pull. So here's the featured. 6-star gold all the way across the board. Striker Rob Van Dam, don't have him. Logan Paul, vital trainer.
Yeah,
Wade Barrett, awesome. Needs gear, but awesome. Tech Gunther, unfortunately, is not great. Io Sky, don't have her.
where?
Judgment Day, Priest.
Okay.
King Woods, zombie, I'm not zombie trainer. Yeah, zombie Bianca's trainer, but bleed trainer
Are you in the
extraordinaire.
6-star gold loot? Is that what you're
Yeah,
looking at? Okay,
yeah,
I'm
the
pulling it up
featured.
too. Right.
Queen
Samu,
Zelina, Oozing Machismo. I don't have those two.
are we seeing?
Master of the Claymore Drew. What's that?
Are you listing only the ones you don't have?
No, I'm going through all of them real quick because there's
Oh,
only
okay.
about 20. So Powerhouse Female, Raquel, TikTok Carrying Cross, RK Bro, Blonde Bomber, who is insane with certain setups, Seamus, the Showboat version,
Right.
Tech Steiner, and Showboat Samu, the head shrinker.
That
So
you
no
were
matter
going bottom
what,
to top. That's
yeah, I
okay.
went from
I was
most
looking at the
likely
same
to
list, going, when is he?
where are
These
these?
people? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah, because the more likely ones are usually towards the bottom. That's the way you read those. So anytime I go into a category and say, what is likely in this loot? I always look at the bottom first because I'm
Acro
like,
Bianca would be a hit for me. You said
yeah,
her. Didn't you say her?
no, I didn't see her in
Oh,
the
never
top
mind.
part.
Nah, never mind. I just thought you said it. I
No,
was
no,
looking.
EO Sky. But even
Oh,
so
Io,
those
even
ones are
better.
all big players. In the mega rare, they're A tier, but there's some S tier in there. Most of them are not very good as fighters right now, but like
Right.
your Great Khali is in there. He's still a Butch, Striker Butch is in there. Liv is in there. I mean, so one way or another, even if you don't get
Those are
those, that's phenomenal.
those are good boss battle superstars as well.
Oh yeah,
Ali and Butch. You may be thinking, okay, maybe not for Feud, or you may be thinking that'd be a huge upgrade for your Feud lineup. Um,
right.
so we're talking about free to play, and we're talking about
Yeah.
changes in the MLC. You're saying the likelihood of them getting Rock Final Boss means it's an improvement to the MLC, um,
I
especially
feel
to
like it.
those that grinded hard
Mhm.
that and missed out on Razor, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we know that's a percentage for sure of
Space for
people. They were
sure.
like, I've maxed every MLC. One guy, our buddy from London said, I've maxed every MLC for a year and I'm not going to get Rizar. I'm not going to max.
Mm,
Like, I know how to do this.
mm,
So what happened? Right.
right.
We're not going to, we can't diagnose that because we can't go back and say, oh, well, you forgot the blitz in week 1. Like, we don't know. It's hard to do an
Right.
autopsy on a whole month. Right. But to those who would say, I missed out on Rizar, you're saying this new structure seems hopeful and
Right.
promising, correct?
It does. Yeah, because what it feels like is everybody, quote unquote, subject to exploration and discovery, should be able to get the chase character, which is now A tier instead of S tier. People are wrestling
Yeah.
with that. I get it. That makes sense. But you should be able to get them by the end of the month. And those who spin the loot, get him faster. And what is
Right.
actually now the reward that you're looking for is not even necessarily the character, although that's the good, but the carrot on the end of the stick, so to speak, isn't the Rock the Final Boss. It's the sooner you get the Rock the Final Boss, you get to
Oh,
do victory tours because it
right.
resets weekly.
And
And
that's
for
where the
months and
resources
months,
are.
the victory tour has been the thing. You're like, oh, I got to get him, not even just to have the character, but just to be able to do the victory tour. And now
Yeah.
you're getting those rewards 3, maybe 4 times. I mean, if you get him by this week, which his weekend contest is going to be this week, you'll be able to get shards. So if you get him this week, you get 4 weeks of victory tour, which is a lot of resources.
And that resets every week, a victory
Yeah,
tour.
every
Wow.
week it's going to reset. So
That's
that's the carrot.
pretty legit. That's pretty legit. I'm so hesitant to like talk openly about this because I just haven't seen it yet. And I
Right.
don't want something to change or for us to have misinterpreted something. And now
Yeah.
people are filling out tickets and saying, well, Champion Chat said, uh,
Right.
while we're talking about free to play or no spend, Lee, the number one thing I've read on Facebook groups this week about champions is people being upset or frustrated that
Mm-hmm.
they don't have Tranquillo, uh,
Tranquillo.
that it takes a few days to claim him, and
Yep.
they feel like they're already behind and they feel like they're missing
Yeah.
out on the kickoff tour
Yep.
as CSS. It has been, I used the language earlier, oddly contested. It has been like
Hmm.
surprising pushback
Hmm.
to having to wait 3 or 4 days for the free thing. Now, the offers are there. You can
Right.
spend $20 and get them now. American, you can spend 30
Right.
or 100 and have them. So like I'm just I is that a surprise to you, or am I like, should I have, am I a
Mhm.
dummy? Am I naive? I should have anticipated
No.
that would happen, or what?
Well, maybe we could have entered. I think the problem is, so in that amazingly long blog, which is a step in the right direction, whether you want to read that much or not, the fact that all the information was available is a huge step in the right direction. But in the blog, it did say we're no longer requiring the free character for the kickoff event because of the fact that you can't get them right away.
Right.
And so the interpretation that many made, I think myself included with that, is that then you wouldn't be seeing the free to play character at all in there. So what actually happened is, instead of requiring the free to play character to even get into hard and hell mode, because that's the way it was before, right?
Right.
You could do normal mode with anybody, but hard and hell mode, you needed a 3-star and then you needed a 4-star of the character. Then you now instead, on hard and hell mode, the free character was CSS. So you still got, and this is the thing that I think people are contesting or struggling with, and hopefully I'm right, and I can say it in a way that you go, oh, okay, that was the way it was. But all of the old rewards that were available for those who had the 2-star only version of the free character, all of those were still available and more in the kickoff. However, there was a lot of good rewards hidden behind having Tranquillo at 3 or 4-star. And people saw that and went, I thought they said he wasn't going to be required. Well, he wasn't required. He was CSS. So you're not getting, and I think the system is smart on Scopely's end to make, again, like, everybody has access, but those who get earlier access through spending or whatever lucky bag get more rewards. And I think that's the right balance the game needs to have in order to continue to move fairly and competitively for free to play specifically, because
Right.
then they are still getting money from those who want to spend, and the game needs that to keep going on. We can't say everything should be free, or otherwise we don't have a game, period.
That's how they
uh
issue our mega paychecks of 0.0.
$0.
So, yeah, if you guys don't spend on the loot, we'll continue not to get paid.
There you go.
I'm just kidding. We don't get paid.
Right,
We do it because we love the game, we love the community, and we love the
right.
camaraderie that comes through it all.
There are
I'm
perks to being a
surprised.
CC, but it's not financial. Let's say
There
that.
are let's talk about that off air later because no, I'm just kidding. Like,
Right,
help me understand what they are later.
right.
So 6-star gold is here,
It
right?
is
Mentioned it.
crazy.
I mean, we talked about there's a new MLC structure, there's new
Right.
MLC chase structure, there's no weekend surprise superstars, but
Yeah, that's weird.
there's a new tier of
Rarity.
talent as
Mhm.
well. You can go up to previously, what was it, 350 talent? Because like on my League
Yeah.
21, it said you have to bring up 3 superstars to which I had not done any before 6-star gold was announced. I would if
Right,
someone to silver and just let them kind of hang. I wouldn't
right.
keep pushing them up. Um, is 6-star gold mean you have to have one now? Um,
No,
should people be bringing up Ghostbuster Cena immediately now that 6-star gold is here?
you can't anyway. There's the tokens aren't available yet, but
I was
no,
like
I mean
trying to
with
think of who's one of my favorites. They would be a bad idea to rush
right.
up.
Oh yeah, I mean Ghostbuster Cena did not hold well from 6 bronze to
Right,
6 silver. He's gone in the 6-star
right.
gold meta, which we did a video. Check that out on the Champions Chat YouTube page on who should you take up. But the summary of it, and it's helpful to have it here too, is that health pool went up 2.5 times. So showboats that had 30 to 40 million now have 70 to 80 million health. Everybody else is hovering in that 50 to 60 million health pool, give or take. So 50 to 80 is going to be your range, roughly. And then your gem damage went up 2 times, but your move damage went up this much, which is what's happened before. That
Oh,
was exactly what
right.
happened. Oh, Rusty, by the way, do you remember what our first episode of Champions Chat was ever?
It was called
Your first episode,
Star Meta is here. Is that
the
was
6-star silver meta. Yeah,
6-star? Was it silver? I
it
just
was.
I can't remember, but it was like the 6-star something has arrived, and it was us
Yeah, it was
talking.
us talking about the 6 silver meta.
Nice. So it's been,
Yeah,
I think, about a year, almost
crazy.
to the date. It might be our 1-year anniversary.
Oh,
Um,
happy anniversary, buddy.
thanks. Yeah, we've come a long way. I've learned a lot. You've got an increasingly better roster than me. The gap widens. So
Hey, you have some that I like you have Roxanne, you got some that I'm like, come
that's
on.
right.
Anyway.
It's the gaming gods up there smiling on me. Um, yeah, but
Right. Yeah, but
this
we
is
started with the 6 silver meta. Now we're in the 6 gold meta. But the things we said in that episode actually carry over to this because it's the same basic idea. Gem damage went up, move damage barely did. So therefore, all of our move damage guys, and you'll see in my talent up video that's going to come out in a day or two. I actually did take Hall of Fame Anvil as one of my 6-star golds. I could only take 2, and I
do you have
purposely chose him.
gear for him?
I do have one gear, and I
Okay.
think you need one gear in the Sheik plate for that reason.
Okay. So I
For
just
that
because
very
some
reason.
people are gonna
So,
take your cues and think that's what
right,
they need to do, maybe. So
right.
the nuance, I don't mind asking those little nuanced questions.
No, that's smart. But like take for example, Nation of Domination Rock. One of the best pulls I've ever gotten. Move damage, sub damage based. Both of those things take a huge hit now. That doesn't mean that they are not equally as effective as they were in their meta, meaning 6 silver. So if you're facing 6 silvers, the move damage those characters had that you saw at 6 silver is the exact same. But when you go into the gold and start fighting against golds, think of it as a half. Think of it as half what it did before. Because even though your move damage guy did 10 million, let's just say turn one, well, when you're facing characters that have 80 million health pool, 10 million doesn't scale anymore. However, your gem damage guys that did 20 million turn one now do 40 million turn one at gold. So move damage barely moves, if at all, while gem damage, multiply gems in particular, and things that buff up your gem damage are absolutely the best path forward.
Who specifically, who should people be prioritizing bringing up?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're gonna
IOW Angle?
no, he didn't make it into the 6-star silver medal little.
Yeah, IOW Angle
Right.
got me into silver, but man, he didn't keep me there long. He
Yeah,
got
he
me in
broke
the
the
door.
dam for you.
He both let
Yeah,
me in and got me kicked out. So,
that's awesome.
like we
Right.
stuck into a club, he got me,
Right.
and then he was the reason I got thrown out as well.
Yeah, that's right. Well, maybe somebody's going, wait a second, but IOW angle breaks the entire board, therefore he's gem damaged, therefore he should be good. But breaking the board once is no
Right.
longer good enough. You need gem damage with so multi-gems are always going to be safe because the way they work, but then some other buff damage. So like, for example, Powerhouse Braun, one of the chase characters from months ago has a move that increases your gem damage by 130%. So it's not just breaking the board once, it's breaking the board another 1.3 times because of the multiplier, and then his gem damage doubles. So someone like that would be safe. Somebody like a Brutus Beefcake, Hall of Fame, who makes the trap gems that then makes a lot more. So instead of just breaking the board once, he's cascading many times through the entire board. Those are the guys that you want to go for. Now, I did, as I mentioned, take Hall of Fame Anvil up because specifically, and only
She's
specifically,
he's Natalia's dad, and you're a big Natalia fan, so you had to keep
that's Goldie.
it. What? That's
You're
not
confusing me
you?
with Goldie.
Oh, I was way
Oh,
off.
that's right. No, because his move damage, I can do easily 40 million turn one with him. So even against a 6 gold, he should be able to turn one, if not turn two. But the fact is, I'm adding the caveat. He might be turn two, and for some, that's not going to be good enough because in
Right.
feud, if you're not turn oneing, you're not getting those like fast, super quick wins to kind of leaderboard and stuff, which I don't chase the leaderboards in feud, so that doesn't bother me.
Most of my
But
bets are turn two.
right,
Let's like here's a great
you got
example.
Austin though.
Well, I'll say this. Here's a great example. Giovanni Vinci. Most people have Giovanni Vinci, right?
Right,
He has to complete the full cycle.
right,
Um, and you can't do that turn one. So
right.
if your killer has a sub move, if he's sub move dependent, he's never
Yeah,
going to turn one killer. Grayson Waller included, who I love. But
yeah,
most of my best are they lay down the sub that makes a special gem, and then that special gem converts and blows up big, and that's how I
yeah.
get the win. So
Yep.
it's
Yeah,
pretty common for me to be
yeah.
two, and I think those superstars tend to be easier to acquire. The ones that
Yep.
have that cycle
Yep.
embedded within them. So if you're low spend, or if you're wondering how do you get a feud killer, right? So Grayson Waller's a great example. You hit the sub to lower your opponent's
Right.
MP so that you can live and do your thing on turn two,
Right.
right? So that's
Yeah.
where I'm at. That's not the best advice for everyone in the community, but if you're struggling, going, I don't have a turn one Pat McAfee level superstar.
It could be. Oh, one of these days he's going to come to the game and
I
Professor's going
know,
to have a field
I
day.
know, I
So,
know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the last question on that you asked, and then I think we've got some other things to talk about I see in the chat
right.
is, should I just take XYZ random person to 6-star gold? I would say as long as it doesn't screw up your plans,
Hall of Fame
use up all your
Lawler is a great
resources.
example. Hall
Yeah.
of Fame Lawler. let's
Should you
use
take
him
Hall
as
of
a
Fame
case
Lalo?
study. Use him as a
Sure.
case study of he's many people's bet free to play best
Right.
chaotic
Yep.
superstar for Boss Battle, even though he's not that good.
Right.
Maybe they even have a gear or two for him over the years they've gotten
Yeah.
on prize wall. So he's a
Right.
free play,
Hall
commonly
of Fame.
pushed up, commonly
Right.
pushed up,
Right.
but often advised, ill-advised. So
Ill-advised. Yes. Yeah. So if you like, well, the 6-star silver meta, my first 6-star silver, our first episode, yay, was Hall of Fame Steve Austin. And he didn't even scale into the 6-star silver meta at all. However, because I had a 6 silver early on, I was able to get some rewards I might not have.
the
Uh,
tours, right? Didn't you
the
weren't you able to like wipe
tours,
out a tour? It gave you
yeah.
resource for other people to bring up.
Exactly, yeah, because it required like you had to have a 6 silver or you had to have a high enough character to beat someone who was 6 silver. And so my Hall of Fame Austin or Hall of Fame Lawler was able to get the job done. So if you can take someone up to get the job done, as long as it doesn't screw over your resources that would allow you to do what you actually want to do, I would highly recommend it. But so for
And
free to play, if you've got Tori Hall of Fame,
oh yeah,
100% she should go up to gold. I mean, she's going to break the dam for your females. If you've got someone like a China Hall of Fame or a, like one of those, even Nikki Bella Hall of Fame is going to take you 7 years to win a match.
don't
But
you do it. Don't you do it. Don't do it, guys. No,
yeah, don't do it.
no,
Right.
no.
But especially if you've got like our Hall of Fame moves and the ones I see the most commonly, Brutus Beefcake, DDP, those are amazing.
And those are
Snap to a Slim
rare. Those
Jim,
are
amazing.
paywalled
They
weekend
are.
chase characters that are,
Right.
dare I say it, ultra rare for low
For
spend
they
people.
are. Hall of Fame Ray, though, if you were able to complete his chase, that would be the
Yeah.
most common of the
Or
top
like Shawn
start
Michaels.
top tier.
Hall of Fame HBK is
I don't have
starting to
him.
get more prominent.
I don't
He's
have him.
gym damage. He's well, or a bad example might be Hall of Fame X-Pac because he
I've
relies on
had people ask.
move damage, doesn't he? And he relies on bonus damage. Did bonus
Bonus
damage
per
get
gym.
scaled up?
Not quite like gym. It does scale a little better than move damage typically, but not like pure gym damage does or percent or modifying the gym damage. So his is per botch gym, I think it is, which if it goes up, it doesn't go up twice, like
Right.
2x. But Hall of Fame X-Pac might be your guy to get you into the meta. So if you need him, if you can get into the 6-star gold meta. But again,
True.
we're talking about this as if that 6-star gold loot doesn't exist, and it does.
Right. Well,
So
that's where we're
we'll see.
saying, but Lee, some people are wanting to have a gold this weekend for the feud
That's
because
right.
they're
You're going to see a lot
afraid
of them.
all of the feud is gonna bypass them and they're gonna lose every match this feud.
Right. Yep.
How do
Yep.
you prevent from that happening? How do you prevent from the power creep overtaking you immediately now that the meta has begun to shift?
So if you don't have a character that could turn one or sub and turn two, a 6-star gold character this weekend, your best path may be to put in good but not super high level of points. So in other words, like put your best character in there, but then put some of your lower tier characters in there, like one or two really good ones, and then lower tier. Stay around or under 100, no more than 150K talent in Feud, and you will see people who typically, if you and your partner are both around that level, you'll see people who are lower. If you go in, like I'm going in this weekend with 230, 240K talent, I will see nothing but 6-star golds. That's what I want because I need those points. So I want as many 6-star golds as possible that I'm facing. If you don't want that, lower your overall feud roster so that you need good characters in there still, but do it to where you're at that 100-ish
Right.
talent mark.
Do you think the
You and your partner.
matchmaking is the algorithm gonna be gracious or is it gonna be relentless?
KO
like,
Relentless.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
does it know how to determine that I have no gold when I enter that feud? Is it
It's
going to
just based on your
decipher?
points.
So, so talent level really matters then. I
Right.
mean, even your first two or three feuds, you may want to test drive
Yeah.
where you commit all out, right? Maybe you
Yeah.
only want to run the bottom line, or
Right.
maybe you need a piece of fodder to bring down your talent.
Yep.
Because you
Or
don't know
just
what
put in
you're gonna
three
get.
characters if you
Yeah.
can. Just put in three characters. Two of them are decently high talent. The other is like trash.
Yeah, because winning some matches is going to be more important than getting a line bonus and losing every match, right? If you
Right.
think about it like that,
Yeah.
like like it's more important that I actually gain points than that I just waste my time and lose and get no
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
Or that I just get frustrated and quit and say this game sucks now, feud sucks, I can't do it. You know,
Right. You
which
just got to have a strategy, which is what we named so many of our early episodes was you got to have a strategy. And we're back. We've circled around.
I have a strategy.
Yeah,
Can I tell you about it?
please do.
So for Talent Up, is it over yet? Did it end yesterday? It ends today at
No,
reset, I
it
think.
ends today or
Today at
tomorrow at
reset.
reset, I think,
Tomorrow at
actually.
reset.
I
Okay.
think.
So
Look
Talent
in
Up,
game as always.
I did not try to YOLO my favorite new superstars for Talent Up, which is often
Yeah.
the strategy. Oh, I pulled something great. Now I want to spike it to the ceiling. What I did this Talent Up was I brought two or three essential entourage people that are going to scale up
Mm,
my whole roster,
interesting.
specifically Sami Zayn, right? The
Okay.
coach that makes
Yep. Last gym
Bludgeon do
coach.
100% damage. So
Smart. I
so
did too.
regardless of the meta, right? 100% is going
Right.
to scale up
Yep.
regardless of the power creep. Same thing I brought up Acro Dragon. It was a
Mm, mm.
costly bring up. And yet
I
I
didn't
did.
do
I
that.
brought him to what is it, 36K?
You
Um,
did. Whew.
yeah. So I have the
Oof.
full coach capacity for, and maybe it's 31K, but like
I
I
think it's
have,
31.
he is fully loaded for
Wow.
for trap gems. I'm going to be making extra trap
Yeah.
gems. But you know what? One of
What?
my superstars is powerhouse Kevin Owens, but
Mm,
I can bring him up to gold. I can't, but you know
right.
what? I boosted the coach that will increase the amount of trap gems that he can make to eliminate 6-star gold opponents, hopefully, because I have that Cody
Right.
WrestleMania moment, right? So
Right.
I'm trying to utilize my moments and my entourage to carry me or to subsidize what I can't
Mm,
do with power alone at 6-star gold. And
yeah.
so I think the strategy for me and for others, if you're out there listening, might be to focus on people that do percentage improvements in your entourage. Percentage is really good. And I think it's the best indication of relevancy, regardless of the meta changing. So if you can
Right.
do, whatever, so like 18K or 12K flat damage
Yeah.
doesn't feel as good it to someone that has 70 million health, right, Lee? Am I seeing that correctly?
You are. Yes. So actually, this is I'm glad you brought this up, and I'm glad we did it this week and not last week because my thoughts on this have changed dramatically with the
Oh,
announcement of new trainer levels, new coaching levels. So what I was going to say, and what you've hinted at that does hold true, is percentages always scale better than flat. Flat damage is it does 12K more, boom, you're done. But so in the 6-star silver meta, we said 45% or higher is greater than 12K. Now they've announced and they've already rolled out, like Hurricane is a good example, now has an 18K bonus to the special gym type that he adds. So my guess would be your flat gym damage trainers and coaches are going to go to 18K here soon. 18K is greater than all the way up to about 50% on the thing. So if you can get to 12K, you have to weigh out and say, okay, am I at 6-star silver? Is this 45% or more? If it's 6 silver and 45%, the percentage is better. If it's anything less than 6 silver, your 12K is better. 18K will be holding up to 6 gold. And then one last thing, I'll turn it back to you. But the percentages, though, you have to watch for special gym types. Like if it buffs that gym type up, percentage always scales better than flat when there's a buff involved. So that's kind of the math you got to do in your head. Is there a buff involved? Percentage is going to be better, but 45% on up at 6 silver is going to be better. So at 6 gold, because of the doubling on there, maybe even your 30% guys are going to be better. We'll have to do the math until you get to 18K, and 18K is going to be greater.
Let's do a case study, and you tell me. The math blows my mind right now. Okay.
Yeah, let me math this.
Imagine, you don't have to imagine it. I have to imagine. Imagine I had Motu Ray as the Purple Gym coach. And let's pretend he got an improvement to do 18K flat Purple Gym damage. Now, I'm choosing, do I want him or do I want Rockin' Roman? Ooh. Right? Rockin' Roman's going to do 30% Purple Gym damage coach. So who is better, Motu Ray at 18K or Rockin' Roman at 30%?
I have an objective answer. So I have Hall of Fame DDP at 6-star gold, entry level 6-star gold. I didn't take a level up after that. And so a 30% trainer or coach at 6-star gold does 20,000 extra damage.
20K.
So in the 6-star gold meta, anything 30% or better is better. Anything 30% or better is better.
Better than 18K.
Better than 18K.
So
yes.
That means even if Stacy or Nikki Cross or Zombie.
Right. Let me make sure I did that right.
So I'm just saying, so Zombie Drew, these are the 12K gym trainers that carried us through 6-star silver. Yep. Looks like even if they haven't yet, but even if they get pushed up to 18K, it looks like a 30% damage improver is still better. However, my suspicion is that the percentage entourage are more rare. Yeah. Right? Because all of those 12K are free MLC characters that are still in the key sharp. It is not difficult to get those.
Except for Ray.
Who I do
Except for Motu Ray.
And
Vader.
Undertaker. And Hall of Fame Undertaker.
Oh, Undertaker.
Is another
Vader.
One, rare. Yeah. So the new Vader, super rare. So there's nuance to all of this. But it looks like 30% is your friend as a minimum. Yep. If you can go higher, it's really good.
Right. So we started talking about the free-to-play community, and obviously our non-free-to-play spinners, we have a lot of you who are listening now too, and you're gonna, well, no duh on some of this. However, just take a case study. So on our server, which by the way, I found out the Discord server link, the invite link refreshes regularly. So I keep putting it in the video and they're like, I can't get in.
Expires.
Yeah, it expires. I hate
one that doesn't expire. That's a good reminder.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
There's a way to change it. There's a way to change it.
We'll see. Look at this. We're working. I love the team. Anyway, so there's somebody in our
technology.
That's right. That's right. Where'd my hair go? So there was somebody in our coaching room that's in our Discord server who was saying, hey, I'm taking up these characters, but then, you know, screenshotted his roster, and we could see that he had the coaches and a couple of coaches and trainers that were MP and Damage, Flat Gym Damage. And Smash Kez, one of our friends in there, was like, hey, you need to take those guys up instead. And he goes, no, I want my best fighters. That's what I'm focusing on. And Smash Kez had to say, look, your best fighters are not your best fighters unless you have trainers. And
Right.
so you've got to prioritize the best fighters with the best trainers. So that's what you're saying with your
Yeah.
Powerhouse KO. You took Dragon up, not because you're going to use Dragon as a fighter.
Right.
He's okay. He's okay, but he's not going to win the world for you. However,
No.
he is going to make Powerhouse KO that much better. So you need your
Yep.
MP guys up 100% as quick as possible. Then you need to be looking at your, if you're lower tier, 6-star bronze and lower, 12K trainers are absolute must. As soon as you get into the 6-star silver meta, and especially now the 6-star gold meta, percentage-based trainers win every time, it seems like.
You know who's super, super important is multiply gym trainers and coaches. Those are
Like
some
Mosh.
of the, yeah, those are some of the harder to find entourage pieces. Like if you haven't been
Yeah.
playing a long time, you don't have Matt Hardy,
Right.
Sherry, super rare,
I don't have her.
but they're starting to trickle out Memrock now. He's starting to become
Still don't have him.
more available. And he just
True.
like he makes your multiply gym plus, one more, and
Right.
it's so good.
Right.
If you have Zombie Gunther, then he does 60% more
Right.
damage to supply gyms. But if you can do those in correlation, if you
Yep.
can if you can like Mosh add a percent
Ooh.
and Gunther, so
Right.
multiply gyms, and I would say this, some of the more powerful gym types like juggernaut gyms, if you ever have an
Yeah.
entourage ability that increases the amount of juggernauts you make, that's game breaking. If you ever have a
Mm-hmm.
entourage member that can drastically increase the number of trap gyms you can make, that's game breaking.
Yep.
Uh, because they're so much more powerful than other gym types. Now,
Yeah.
Leech Gym is my favorite type of gym, and we're still getting there. We're
Right.
not quite there, but
Heal
like
gyms and leech gyms are like
yeah,
way
yeah,
overlooked.
yeah. I love Leech Gyms. I love Health Steal. I love Bleed. I love Sub
Oh.
Moves. I love the slow path that
Well,
is the
Rusty, have
so.
you watched our videos on the 4 new characters yet? That's weird.
Um,
Have
I
you
have
watched
not.
your own channel?
You know what? Admittedly, I need to watch them because I, I, I don't, and do you know what Andrade's gear does? Has that been revealed?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
What
it's
does it do? What does the gear
75%
do?
more purple gym damage. Andrade's not great, just being honest. Mosh is better. Akam is better. I mean, I even named our video for
Comma,
him,
comma better.
comma, I
Comma
don't
does
know.
leech gems. So,
He does. Okay, so here's where I was going with this. Speaking of, okay, so you mentioned Juggernaut gym trainers. If, and this is the hugest set of ifs I'm going to say on this whole show. If you get Charlotte Flair, if you have Seth freaking Rollins, if you have
oh,
Goldberg,
oh
and
my
if you
gosh,
have Showboat Shinsuke. So that's 4 ultra rare
I
things.
got none of that.
I've got one of that. I've got
I'm
Goldberg.
0 for 4.
0 for 4. So here's why I want Charlotte. I do have Goldberg. Okay, so here's the deal, Rusty. Turn 1 and every turn, because it recycles, she will steal health to the tune of 80 million per turn. So she steals everybody's health. Like think of that in boss
Right?
battle. Literally, she will
Yeah,
never lose.
that's awesome. But
She
that's
will
a
never
super
die.
rare equation as well. So,
That is super rare. Yep.
Sorzoro level rarity there.
Yeah. But even
Huge
without
damage.
that, her triple green, I think it is, or triple blue, whichever, I forget now because I just did so many previews again.
Yeah.
But whichever triple color it is, she has the most unique and fun setup outside of that. Like she is the best female character in the game, I believe. And Triple H Rex Regum is better than William Regal. So you're talking about you've got one B
No
tier
gear
character.
required either.
For Charlotte, yes, but not for Rex Regum. So, and you're talking about you get an A tier character for free now. You're talking about instead of having 4 S tier characters to chase, now instead you've got 2 S tier characters plus 2 gears that you chase. So it's an interesting dynamic.
So Mosh and Akam are the two you're saying they're better than Tranquillo?
At least, yeah, at least those two.
Someone asked on our YouTube comments, so I
Yeah.
responded to the comment.
Yikes.
So yeah, we've talked about 6-star gold. We've talked about key entourage trainers. We've talked about percentage being important, probably the most important thing. We've talked about how to engage this month's reworked, restructured MLC. We've talked about life is still good and probably even better than it's ever been for free-to-play players. Quote me on
Yeah.
that. Lee, do we have anything else to discuss before we head to the real world of professional
Whew.
wrestling?
There's so much with the 6-star gold meta that we're not going to have all of it figured out this week. And don't feel bad if you don't. Don't feel FOMO if you don't have a 6-star gold right now. Do
Nope.
the best with what you've got and
Yeah.
enjoy the journey. Because all FOMO is going to do is make you think that what you have is not enough when the reality, or maybe you're not enough, but the reality is you can do amazing things with what you've got if you
Oh
just learn
yeah.
how to use them well. The free, you mentioned free to play, best time ever. The free characters, maybe outside of Andrade, for the last like 6-7 months have been ones that if you build up that free care, if you build up Showboat Kevin Owens and nobody else, you
Oh
have a
yeah.
character that is worthy of stepping into the arena with.
And I
So
and I,
don't freak
I
out what you don't have, build
I'm
what you do.
I'm proof of that. I am proof. If I listen to this, if I get Hall of Fame Yokozuna,
Yeah.
uh, I will have every piece for Showboat Kevin Owens, and he cannot get any better. You know what we
Ooh.
call like the prime build. The
Right.
only thing I can upgrade on him at this point is getting Hall of Fame Yokozuna for the reinforced gym damage. And so I don't know if that's rare or tight or it just doesn't come around very often, but
Right.
really every other thing on my greatest hits is
Wah wah.
accessible to the entire community. Like it's
Yeah.
not rare. It's not a, a whale build. It's like
Right.
he's a free to play all-star and
Right.
probably my best Showboat. Like
Yeah.
feuds for sure. And probably for
Yeah.
Boston. So
Right. So not only are you getting free to play characters that are the B tier free that are great, now you're going to get The Rock, the final boss, subject to change, subject to exploration. And
subject
while
to,
he is
yeah,
subject to discovery,
right.
while he is nowhere near the level of Charlotte or Rex Regum Triple H, his triple yellow is so control based, you will never
Mm.
lose. You will
Ooh,
not lose. You may
so
not
like
win
new
fast.
Gable, he's like the new Finn Balor or the new Gable
Yeah.
Miz. There's
Yeah.
always there's one in each meta who's
Yep.
that like crippling, cannot beat this one
Right.
build, and that you avoid in showdowns.
Right. Yeah, he's going to be, if you
Uh,
don't turn one of him, he subs you and steals your health every single turn. So every single turn he subs and steals your health. So for your
he'll be
top
my
end
best rock,
players,
I think, if I get him. He'll be
yeah.
because I have horrible rock. I have
Uh-huh.
Zombie Rock is one of my better
Oh, I
rocks.
love
I
Zombie
have
Rock.
Mim Rock, but as a coach, I don't
Right.
really play he's kind of outdated for sure.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, Stunlock Zombie Rock is probably my best path with a rock.
Well,
And
this is your final boss that just controls the match, and he's
Mama
not going to win
Rhodes,
fast, but he's not
now
going to
listen,
lose.
pull it in close here, Mama Rhodes. I'm talking to you, Mama Rhodes. What a psycho! What an absolute psycho he was before
Oh,
WrestleMania.
yep.
He was a great heel. Um, I don't really like Nice Guy Rock. I don't really need
Yeah.
him to ever be a face again. I
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know that he's believable as a face anymore.
Interesting.
I kind of like evil board member Rock. Um, and I think that's who he's gonna personify until SummerSlam, where I think he
Yeah.
and Cody are gonna main event SummerSlam. So
Yep. And I think Roman and Rock will do WrestleMania next year. I think that's the path.
I
I think
think
you're right.
Roman could resurface and interfere with SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
Roman will be face Roman with
Hmm.
face Jimmy and Jey Uso by his side, and they will take down
The
the
bloodline.
bloodline. And I think The Rock is the true tribal chief at this point. So
Wow.
that's a lot of conjecture. I guess we're talking WWE TV at this point. I've turned a corner for
We
us.
are. I love it. I love it. So we had
Yeah,
Backlash in Lyon.
that was
I
the
I
greatest crowd I've ever seen ever at any
100%.
event. I want the French to come to every arena from now on.
Yes.
And just pack the house. They were
Right.
world class fans. World
They
class.
were. They were. And I went into back, I mean, our video for last week for this was, does Backlash even matter? Like, is it even a show that moves the needle at all?
It was a
And
great
having
show.
watched it, like the crowd made every
Show.
match feel, because they did the deux, and then whenever they didn't hit the three, so instead of
Yeah.
trois, it sounded like they were saying sacre bleu, but what they were actually saying was the French version of simply two. So
Oh,
one, two, simply two. But then every single
okay.
time they'd go, simply two, simply, except for it was the this is awesome cadence, right?
Nice.
Simply two, simply, yeah. So every single, but no, I will say by the end of it, I was like, no more two counts, please, because that was get like they sang for 5 minutes
Yeah.
after
I
every two
loved it.
count.
I loved it. I I have a whole new respect for the French, not for French Canadians, but for the actual French, not for their imposters on this
Oh
side of.
wow. Oh wow.
But wow, Lee, they made some of the most boring go to the bathroom matches of the night. Like
Yeah.
watch TV. It
Right.
felt like black and gold NXT in the small arena in its heyday, where
Yeah.
everything mattered, every move mattered, every pinfall mattered. It was really, really a fun show. I
Right.
wish and I hope I think this will happen someday. I hope a big card like a SummerSlam or a Royal
Mm,
Rumble goes to France,
wow.
because could you imagine like what they would do in a Royal Rumble situation? Like,
Yeah.
just would be mind blowing. So
It would be. I mean, that was, yeah, yeah, that was insane. And the results of the matches, I think, were so predictable. Like, I think most people called every single outcome that
yeah,
was there, but it
yeah,
didn't matter because the crowd was so elevated
they carried
that
it.
yeah, everything mattered. Every
Right.
single thing mattered that happened, and that was crazy. But now we're heading towards King and Queen of the Ring.
It's begun.
Rusty,
It's
early
begun. The
predictions?
King and Queen of the Ring have begun. They began on Raw this week. They'll continue on SmackDown tomorrow night, and they will be finalized in Jeddah at
Yep.
Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
They continue to make Crown Jewel a high stakes PLE, which
Yep.
it started out as a house show, glorified low stakes. They
Right.
continue to give the Saudis some of their best action of the year, which is
Yep.
great for them, great for us, great for a fan of WWE. And I'm predicting this year's King of the Ring is going to go one of two ways.
Okay.
It's going to go to solidify the monster status of Gunther,
Yep.
or it's going to go to solidify the legitimacy of a Jey Uso. But
Yeah.
it's either going to be, we want to put this guy over to where he is a premium main event superstar. Dare I, and I don't know if the brackets work out like that. The main
Right.
event could likely be Jey Uso versus Gunther, to where even the
Yeah.
loser is still, they go, what a match.
Right.
Just as over as the winner.
Yep.
That's my initial thought. How about you, Lee?
I agree 100% on the guy's side. I think Gunther gets it, but I mean, they're trying to make main event Jey Uso somebody that you're going to believe in the main event. They're not going to put the IC title on him right now. I mean, I could see Chad Gable taking the title from Sammy at Crown Jewel if they build that, and then Jey
It's a
Uso
triple
going
threat
against
match
Gable.
now. You know that? The Crown
Oh,
Jewel IC match is now Bronson Reed, Gable,
oh,
and Sammy. So I
so
think you're right.
Bronson might get it.
No, I think Bronson is going to destroy Sammy so that Gable can steal the belt. Right? I
Yeah,
think that feels like the
that feels
scapegoat.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that feels right. So Jey Uso's not going to get the IC title. He's not gonna, I don't know. I mean, they did kind of tease him, being the guy who could already take down Damian Priest, but I mean, as soon as they announced that it was going to be Jey versus Damian Priest, I was like, they're not taking the belt off Damian Priest that quick. Like that's,
Was a
they already
great
did that with Drew
match.
McIntyre, and that was a great story, but no.
And that was a great match, actually. That I wondered if they could carry that kind of main event match, and they did. And we're starting to see a face turn from Damian Priest. El Campeón is like
Yeah, I
turning
hate that.
face and departing potentially from the Judgment Day at some point, or the
I
Judgment
know.
Day is just gonna dissolve.
Right. I know they're building towards that. I hate it. The Judgment Day is the only thing that has made me like most of the characters that are in the
Yeah,
Judgment Day, aside from Rhea.
I
So
really
all of the
like
male
Judgment Day.
characters that are in the Judgment Day. So yeah.
So with the women's Queen of the Ring bracket, we don't know who's in it until tomorrow night. We
Yep.
only know the Raw side, which is surprising because the men's bracket was announced
Right.
prior to the taping and the show. So we've seen Io defeat Natalia. We've
Yep.
seen the rookie Lyra Valkyria, who I love, defeat Dakota Kai. We saw Zoe Stark, unfortunately, go over on Ivy Nile. Ivy needs the
Oh,
push.
I like Zoe Stark.
I do too. They shouldn't have paired him up first round.
I
And then we
agree.
got Shayna and Zelina,
Mm.
TBD. I don't think they had time on Raw for that or something. But
Yeah, that was kind of a oof move. They moved him to a house show this weekend. Those
oh,
matches are going to happen on a house show.
or like maybe like
So
WWE Speed or something like that. Or I don't
nope,
even
just a
know,
straight up
right?
house show.
So
Yeah,
do you know Ricochet is now the Speed champion,
he
and
is.
they did not let him bring his Speed title to the ring
Really?
on Raw, and he also, I think it's because they had to make Ilya Dragunov look, even more impressive, right?
Right.
If they have Ricochet holding a belt and taking a loss, I think it could be confusing for the fan, So
Gotcha. That makes
I don't know.
sense.
Yeah.
Well, before we leave the female Queen of the Ring, this holds up because I was like, I actually don't know who is in Queen of the Ring, and I watched a lot of Raw, and that makes sense why I don't know who the SmackDown. Anyway, all that
Okay.
to say, it needs to be Tiffy time. It needs to be Tiffany Stratton. the character that she, if it's not her, it
Oh
needs to be
man,
Chelsea Green.
I would love
But
it.
Chelsea Green or
Love it.
Tiffany Stratton could turn that queen gimmick into, and then you have a guaranteed path to when Charlotte Flair comes back. You think you're the queen? Let me
Yeah.
introduce you to the real queen. Oh, that would be
Right.
Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair over the queendom would
Yes.
be amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. And I can't decide what I want to see happen with the female division, which for the first time, that means creative is running it far better than I can even dream book it, which is like really
Wow.
exciting. That's really exciting. Um,
Yeah.
I, I think if I had one like thing that I'd really love to see, it would be Carmella returning and
Oh.
joining Chelsea Green and them just playing off one another as
Ooh.
like sassiest
Ooh.
bratty tag
The
team.
Alpha Divas.
Just would be so fun, so fun. Um, and Carmella could probably, especially coming back in, could use a partner to help carry as she gets back in, knocking off the ring rust from, 5, 6 months out, well, even longer after pregnancy. So,
Right.
women's division is exceptional right now on every show.
Yeah.
And I like
Yeah.
Valkyria far more than I thought I would. She's
Okay.
she has the French would call it, je ne sais quoi. Like
Je ne sais quoi.
she has a certain, likable, charismatic quality that I did not expect to see. Um, and I don't like Jade Cargill far more than I thought was possible. Like I feel indifferent to her. I feel like her matches are botched, and there was a move last week where she went to chokeslam Asuka and like threw out the hand, and Asuka had to run into it neck first just to connect and to make it happen. And I just keep thinking like she
Oh,
she should have gone on an NXT run.
yeah.
Um, that they're gonna hide her behind Bianca's in-ring
Yeah.
talent.
Yeah.
Um, it's a weird push that I think other ladies, now physically, she's a physical specimen, and that was always, but that's what the old administration did, right?
Brought
Brought somebody that was chiseled and unprepared, just
Right.
that looked good on TV. I've said a lot. Back to you, Lee.
Yeah. No, no, I mean, you're not wrong. I think, again, I think the je ne sais quoi, like the old administration built, I'm not picking on him. He's one of the most beloved guys in the rosters, built Omos because Omos or Great Khali because he was, because of his look.
Right,
And they literally could barely go "Ugh," in
right.
time and stuff like that. I don't think Jade Cargill's in that boat. It has
Oh,
skill.
sure.
It's just very
Right.
unrefined. But she does have, Omos comes on screen and you're like, that guy's big, and that's it. Jade
Yeah.
Cargill comes on screen and you go, oh
Right.
wow, look at
Yeah,
she
she
is
stops traffic.
impressive.
Sure. Yes, she
Yeah.
is. She is must-watch TV, but she needs Natalia to be her roommate and like
Right.
on the road with a veteran
Yeah.
who's pushing her 24/7.
Yep.
I think.
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
think.
No,
I
I
think.
think, and I think if this is, as long as she gets better, if she doesn't get
Right.
better, this is a different conversation. But as long as she gets better, and this is the most unrefined we see her, I still hold that her and Tiffany Stratton are the Charlotte Flair and Becky of the next 10 years. I think that is
Yeah.
where they're at.
Possible.
But
And Tiffany carries
she's
a
got to get
match.
better.
She works a match like nobody else. She
Right.
sells nobody else. She makes people look so impressive. Um,
Right.
so I think we'll see that. I think we'll see that from her.
Yeah.
And like you've always defended AJ Styles in that manner, that AJ,
Yeah.
He did. He made Cody look like a champion. He
Yeah.
put a match together with Cody that made Cody a credible champion.
Yep.
And so I'm really thankful for that.
Right.
That's probably the best match we've had out of Cody since he and Rollins with the torn pec in the cage and the high stakes.
Ooh.
That's probably Cody's best match,
I would
probably
agree.
in the company against AJ.
And it's Dave Meltzer, I think it was, who said this is a match the previous administration would not have booked because AJ is not currently a big enough star anymore. You know, his star power
Right.
is diminished because of their booking. And secondly, that match was a New Japan style match. Like
I
there were
loved it.
strong style elements. It
Yeah,
was ring
yeah,
psychology. It wasn't flash. It wasn't,
right.
oh, look at all this, but there was all the sizzle, but no steak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
You know,
really
you
good.
know what the Paul Levesque era is introducing to the main brand is the
Wrestling.
out of the finisher and the lots of two counts, right?
Yeah,
It was the NXT main staple, right? The
right.
Gargano, like hitting 90 super kicks,
Wow.
getting the two count against Adam Cole. Like those Adam Cole Gargano type matches are
Right.
to um starting to come to the main brand. And I think that
Simply too.
that match, yeah, yeah, so fun. Well, we're
Let me
about out
ask.
of time, Lee. I think we're go ahead
Oh, are
before.
we? Oh, I was gonna. Okay, so last segment then we can just go with. We're gonna lose the relevance of it in a few weeks. So we talked about Becky Lynch, and I've mentioned before. I think she's not only the best female wrestler of all time, but she's in my top 5 for best wrestlers, period, of
Right,
all time. However, because she has won this title and gotten so dominant, and her legacy is that there are people who are starting to call her Becky Hogan. How do you
right.
respond to that, Rusty?
I could see that. So she's in a phase of her career now where she has nothing left to prove, no mountain to climb. So
Mm,
having a belt on her feels odd, especially a belt that was won in a battle royal instead of a Queen of the Ring. I think they should have let
yeah,
that belt go to Queen of the Ring. I think they should have let that belt go to a heel. And I think Becky needs so like the way good literature is written, right? There has to be a hero's journey, right?
right,
There has to be a challenge. There has to be a hill to climb. There has to be a rising action, right? She's on top of the mountain. She didn't need that belt, and there is no what's the hard thing she's got to go through, you know?
right.
Um, so other than promoting the book, I'm not sure why they did. I just that didn't make sense to me. That didn't make sense to me at all. Um,
Yeah,
Now they would have had to have done a massive rewrite, restructure, brand shift. They could have done that through the draft. They could
yeah,
have. They could. I don't know. There were a lot of opportunities to get that right. I'm glad they left Roxanne where they did.
mm.
That made a lot of sense, but it made no sense to say, well, let's pretend Becky won WrestleMania and then act as if Doctor Strange has, changed the multiverse. Um,
Yeah,
it's like you, I love Becky,
right,
but in the same way, Cody will continue to need to experience hard times to stay relevant as a face champion.
right.
Live putting out revengeful Liv Morgan against her is the right thing.
Yeah,
Like Liv needs to give her a dose,
yep,
right? It needs to be an Extreme Rules match. Becky
yeah.
needs to go through the fire.
Ooh,
Or
Inferno
else,
match.
yeah, right. A first blood, something like
First blood.
that. They're gonna have to
Right.
continue to make us care about Becky, and we care about her the most when she's the underdog, when she's the girl with the bloody nose that didn't get the title
Right.
shot, when she's the one
Right.
that passed over, when she's the working class hero, right? And
Yeah.
that's the same thing is true of Cody. The reason we love Dusty is because he's the blue collar working man's champ,
Mm,
right? Who
right.
got passed over, who was the underdog hero. It's the reason we love Sami Zayn. It's the reason we love Kevin Owens, because they're the unlikely hero, and they go on the journey, and they overcome challenges. Becky has no challenges unless they
Yeah.
figure something out.
Well, and I think even just language, Becky Hogan makes me think, the Dark Knight trilogy, you either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And you're right. Like when she was the underdog, everybody was rooting for her. It was her story. Now that she's the overdog, it's like, well, do we need her again? But I don't know. Like for me, when I heard that, I was initially just thinking like, okay, yes, we've talked many times before, problematic nature of some other things Hogan has done aside. If you just look at the history of wrestling, Hulk Hogan will forever be number one on the list, and then you talk about Steve Austin. That's the way it's always going to be, right? He's always, if you at least, we do tier lists in our game, right? So if you want to break it down, I think the Mount Rushmore concept is useless because you can't narrow wrestling down to four people. Like you start talking Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Rock, Hogan. Like by the time you then you're throwing out Ric Flair, Bret Hart. Like you've got that. But if you just talk about tiers, Hogan is the S plus 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 tier, and everybody else is S tier at best. Becky is in that S plus range, moving up, and that by nature makes everybody else target you and not you when you set yourself aside in that category, you become the villain, right? You start the hero, you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I think if they do this title run right and she establishes, my booking was have her win at WrestleMania and then Tiffany Stratton dethrones her and we've got a great path. Yeah, I think this could be Becky's best title run if she establishes somebody else. Somebody else. Like she
Yeah.
gives the broken nose rub. Just don't botch and break somebody's nose. But she gives that Becky Lynch broken nose moment rub to the next Becky Lynch. That's where I will see this as no, she's not Becky Hogan. She's not, the rumor, Hogan held everybody down. That doesn't work for me, brother, and just win over all the time. I don't think that's Becky. I think she legitimately is going to establish a future star. But we'll see. We'll see.
Well said. And I think what my takeaway from this is it's going to be really hard to keep Tiffany Stratton from reaching the peak of her career um,
Too
before
soon.
the next WrestleMania. It's going to be
Yeah.
she's lightning in a bottle, and she's going to
Right.
put on the best matches. I want to see a program with Tiffany and Bianca. That
Yeah.
those might be consistently some of the 5-star. Like when we talk about 5-star matches, rarely are there women's matches in the conversation. But I
Yeah.
think they've got the ability and they've got the creative mind now to start having exceptional, exceptional, not just single matches, but like story arcs that have drama and intrigue and suspicion and double crossing, all of the elements that we love, right? The
Right.
drama, So like I am really optimistic, but I think it keeps coming back to Tiffany Stratton. The conversation,
Yeah.
any conversation we have about the women's division accidentally gravitates towards Tiffany, which
Yeah.
tells you something about her, which tells you
She's
that
the next
she
Becky.
cannot be suppressed. If you overlook her, she will become even bigger. LA Knight, right?
Yeah.
She will be,
Right.
if you say this is not your time, the fans will push her Daniel
Mhm.
Bryan style, LA Knight style. She's I mean, even in the press conference in Lyon, she was as over as anyone else that came out
Yeah.
that had infinitely more time, and the fans were chanting her name. Typically, what you don't do as a heel, right? So
Right.
she's getting that face pop, and they love the heel persona.
Agreed.
It's hard not to be a raving fan of what Tiffany Stratton's doing in the ring and on the mic in WWE wrestling.
I agree. I agree.
That's
Well,
all for me.
that's all we got for today. Appreciate you guys tuning in, especially, as this confusing new 6-star gold meta rolls out. We will continue to help be your guides, to help you not only get into the 6-star gold meta, but make the most of it. And it's an honor to be a part of such an awesome community. Let's keep being awesome to one another, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.